The next is the slap. The slap is probably the most difficult of all the sounds to make on a conga drum, and it requires a fast and very light touch in order to make a proper slap. The slap, you get a nice gradual curve in the arch of your hand. What you do not want to do is create any corners in any of the knuckles. So you don't want a corner here, you don't want a corner here, don't want a corner here. You just want a nice gradual curve, almost like just a real smooth rounding, almost like cupping a breast or something. It's a very smooth round. You don't want any points, any sharp edges. And the striking pad of the hand is right at the fingertips, just these fingertips, and almost focusing mainly on this finger and the pinky. So this finger almost isn't really hitting the drum that much. But it's a very light and fast. So in order to do a proper slap, you need a good whip, which means you need to lift your hand up real high and bring it down with speed, but not heavy weight. And let it create a crisp, cracking sound on the drum. So if you look at the left hand, so you get a good angle, you can see that my hand's cupped. There's probably a good inch, at least a finger's width that I can fit underneath the hand there. And then it's real light touch with all the fingers. I can see real light, no pressure, no grabbing the drum. You want to have it real light. And then drop and stick it. And hear that brightness? That's what you want, a real crisp slap. Okay, so remember to keep big rise, big whip. You want your hands up high, come down high rate of speed, not with a lot of weight, and you want your fingertips to land loosely and stick. So there shouldn't be any downward force after the strike. When you're done your strike, all the color in the tips of your fingers should be normal. There should be no white, no pressure. Okay, very light strike. You can cheat, you can use all that pressure and get a good sound, but it's going to tire you and fatigue you. So you really want a loose hand. Okay, it's also basically the same position as the tone and the mute. You can bring it in a little. It makes it a little lower of a slap. You can pull it out, it makes it a little higher of a slap. Those are finer details that we'll get to later in playing specific parts. You'll be required to use one or the other slaps, either this one or that one. So we'll go deeper into that later on when I start showing you the rhythms. Okay? So get used to those slaps. Make sure you do them every day. Try to get them as crisp and bright. You don't want them muddy sounding. You don't want them knocking sounding. You don't want them to sound like wood. You want them to sound crisp and bright and higher pitch. That way they stick out better in the music without working you so hard. Okay? So, slaps, bright, crisp, tones, mutes, basses. And now we're going to get to the next part of this, which is in Cuban drumming, they have a unique hand playing style, the palm touches. And that's basically, palm is almost like a bass, but not as loud. And then the touches are just lifting the hands and coming down. Okay? In rhythms, they're always done in palm touch order. Palm touch. Or sometimes, in one or two rhythms, you'll get a touch, palm, touch. Okay? But for this exercise, we're just going to do touches. And this isolates the movement of the wrist from the movement of the arm. It's an exercise. It's not something you do when you're playing, because you always want to move your arm with the wrist when you're playing. But as an exercise, this is a good way to loosen up your wrist and get used to making your touches sound good in the palm touch techniques. So, you just lay your hands flat on the drums, keeping them nice and relaxed. Lift your fingertips, bring them down. In the next section, I'll be giving you a group of exercises, and this is one of the exercises in it, just like the bases. So get used to that pattern. You'll probably feel a little pulling up here as your muscles start to learn how to lift your hand comfortably. After a while, that'll go away, and you'll be able to do it more comfortably. When you're doing these, try to do them fairly slow again, all these exercises. Really focusing on the sound, not on how fast you're going or how loud you are, but more or less how clean each sound is and how different they sound from each other. So when you do a tone, you know it's a tone. When you do a slap, you know it's a slap. Say what you mean. You don't want to have that as a tone. Sounds almost like a slap. Later on, as we get more advanced, some of those open slap ideas are good for lead players, but never in support parts. So we don't need those right now. So I've showed you basically palms, touches, tones, mutes, and slaps. Okay?